Okay, good evening. We're back with Second Kings, chapter 11. Athaliah rules in Judea. When Athaliah, the mother of King Ahaziah of Judah, learned that her son was dead, she set out to destroy the rest of the royal family. But Ahaziah's sister, Je- Je- Jehosheba, the daughter of King jo- uh, Jehoram, took Azariah's infant son Joash and stole him away from among the rest of the king's children who were about to be killed. Joasheba put Joash and his nurse in the bedroom to hide them from Athaliah, so the child was not murdered. Joash and his nurse remained hidden in the temple of the Lord for 6 years, while Athaliah ruled over the land. Revolt against Athaliah. In the 7th year of Athaliah's reign, Jo Jeodiah, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, the priest summoned the commanders, the Keriot missionaries, and the guards to come to the temple of the Lord. He made a pact with them and made them swear an oath of loyalty there in the Lord's temple. Then he showed them the king's son. Jeodiah told them, "This is what you must do. A third of you who are on duty on the Sabbath or on guard are to guard the royal palace itself. Another third of you are to stand guard at the Sur Gate, and the final third must stand guard behind the palace guard. These three groups will all guard the palace. The other two units who are off duty on the Sabbath must stand guard for the king at the Lord's temple. Form a bodyguard for the king and keep your weapons in hand. Any unauthorized person who approaches you must be killed. Stay right beside the king at all times." So the commanders did everything just as Jeodiah, the priest, ordered. The commanders took charge of the men reporting for duty that Sabbath, as well as those who were going off duty. They brought them all to Jehoiada the priest, and he supplied them with the spears and shields that had once belonged to King David and were stored in the temple of the Lord. The guards stationed themselves around the king with their weapons ready. They formed a line from the south side of the temple around to the north side and all around the altar. Then Jedediah, or however you pronounce that, brought out Joash, the king's son, and placed a crown on his head. He presented Joash with a copy of God's covenant and proclaimed him king. They anointed him, and all the people clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!" The death of Athaliah. When Athaliah heard all the noise made by the guards and the people, she hurried to the Lord's temple to see what had happened, and she saw the newly crowned king sitting in the place of the by in his place of authority by the pillar as soon as the custom of times of coronation. The officers and trumpeters were surrounding him, and the people from all over the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. When Athaliah saw all this, she tore her clothes in despair and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders who were in charge of the troops, "Take her out of the temple and kill anyone who tries to rescue her. Do not kill her here in the temple of the Lord." So they seized her and led her out to the gate where horses enter the palace grounds, and she was killed there. Jehoiada's religious reforms. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and the people that they would be the Lord's people. He also made a covenant between the king and the people, and all the people of the land went over to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They demolished the altars and smashed the idols to pieces, and they killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. Jehoiada the priest stationed guards at the temple of the Lord. Then the commanders of the Keriot missionaries, the guards, and all the people of the land escorted the king from the temple of the Lord. They went through the gate of the guards and into the palace, and the king took his seat on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was peaceful, because Athaliah or Eliah had been killed at the king's palace. Joash was 7 years old when he became king. Wow. Okay, 2 Kings chapter 12. Joash repairs the temple. Joash began to rule over Judea in the 7th year of the king Juah's reign in Israel. He reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother was Ziba from Beersheba, and all his life Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, because Jedediah the priest instructed him. Yet even so, he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offer sacrifices and burnt incense there. One day, King Joash said to the priest, "Collect all the money brought as a sacred offering to the Lord's temple, whether it is a regular assessment, a payment of vows, or a voluntary gift. Let the priest take some of that money to pay for whatever repairs are needed at the temple." But by the 23rd year of Joash's reign, the priests still had not repaired the temple. So King Joash called for Jedediah and the other priests and asked them, "Why haven't you repaired the temple? Don't use any more gifts of your own for your own needs. For now on, it must be all spent on getting the temple into good condition." So the priests agreed not to collect any more money from the people, and they also agreed not to undertake the repairs of the temple themselves. Then Jedediah the priest bored a hole in the lid of the large chest and set it on the right hand side of the altar at the entrance of the temple of the Lord. The priest guarding the entrance put all the people's contributions into the chest. Whenever the chest became full, the court secretary and the high priest counted the money that had been brought to the Lord's temple and put into bags. Then they gave the money to the construction supervisors who used it to pay the people working on the Lord's temple, the carpenters, the builders, the masons, and the stone cutters. They also used the money to buy timber and cut stone for repairing the Lord's temple, and they paid any other expenses related to the temple's restoration. The money brought to the temple was not used for making silver cups, lamp snuffers, basins, trumpets, or other articles of gold or silver for the temple of the Lord. It was paid out to the workmen who used it for the temple repairs. No accounting was required from the construction supervisors because they were honest and faithful workers. However, the money that was contributed for guilt offerings and sin offerings was not brought into the Lord's temple. It was given to the priests for their own use. The end of Joash's reign. But at about this time, King Hazael of Aram went to war against Gath and captured it. Then he turned to attack Jerusalem. King Joash collected all the sacred objects that Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, and Isaiah, the previous kings of Judea, had dedicated, along with what he himself had dedicated. He sent them all to Hazael, along with all the gold and the treasures of the Lord's temple and the royal palace. So Hazael called off his attack on Jerusalem. The rest of the events in Joash's reign and all his deeds are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judea. But his officers plotted against him and assassinated him at Beth Milo on the road to Silla. The assassins were Josachar, son of Shemeth, and Jehozabad, son of Shomer, both trusted advisors. Joash was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Amaziah became the next king.